This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Monday, the 27th day of March in the year 2023. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. The Guyana Asset Recovery Conference opened today at the Guyana Marriott Hotel with the U.S. Ambassador to Guyana, Sarah Ann Lynch, challenging the local legislators to update the country's asset recovery framework to allow for greater prosecution. Speaking in the presence of the country's top judicial officers, the U.S. Ambassador said the conference comes at a time when the country is experiencing rapid economic transformation. The two-day conference was organized by the Judiciary of Guyana in collaboration with the U.S. State Department's Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs and the National Center for State Courts. A similar conference was held in Guyana last July. That conference targeted law enforcement officers and prosecutors. And according to the U.S. Ambassador, progress has already been recorded. With the second conference taking place, the ambassador said she looks forward to future asset recovery investigations, trials, and prosecutions in Guyana. In her address, the acting chancellor, Justice Janet Cummings, warned that criminal elements will not enjoy the sweet of their ill-gotten gains, as law enforcement officers are coming after them. Like the U.S. ambassador, the chancellor said the conference is happening at a critical time and will cover a range of legal issues. The issue of money laundering is forming part of the discussions. Organizers of the conference are hoping that it will build the institutional capacity of law enforcement officers to conduct robust and independent investigations and prosecutions of financial crimes. The director of the Caribbean Anti-Crime Project, Joanne Richardson, the deputy director of the Caribbean Anti-Crime Project, Nicola Sutter, and judicial officers from Guyana, Belize, and Jamaica are among those attending the conference. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's been a long time coming. Overdue, some might say, but now that it's here, it will change life forever, and it is here to stay. The future is now, transforming Guyana into the 21st century. Introducing GTT Fiber. Experience internet connectivity like never before. Speeds you deserve at prices you can afford from a name you can trust. Sign up today. GTT Fiber is here. GTT. Together, we rise faster.
At Giftland Office Max, we're all about customer satisfaction. Whether it's clothing and shoes for the ladies, gents, and kids, or for the latest electronics or hardware appliance, we're always thinking of satisfying you, our dear customers. Now you can shop online at www.giftlandofficemax.com or visit us at the Giftland Mall, where we're happy to serve each and every one of you.
At the most critical, life-changing moments, the National Insurance Scheme is here to ensure that your needs are covered. Access reimbursement for medical expenses for various aspects of your medical care. We know that eye care is of utmost importance. Receive assistance with our Spectacle Care voucher. Visiting the dentist? Dental care is also covered under our sickness benefit services. Offset the funeral expenses of a loved one with costs covered by our funeral benefits. National Insurance Scheme. We're there every step of the way.
Bust the flavors. We're full of flavors. Bust the flavors that me crave for. We're full of flavors. Tell your neighbors about the bust the flavors. Grab a bust the flavors. Yeah. Thirst buster, grab a buster, bust the flavor, taste the savor. Buster, bust the flavors. Buster, bust the flavors.
Strong and solid in countries far and wide. New India Assurance, we're standing by your side. Golden service, half a century and more. New India Assurance, our policies are secure. From the heart of India, we serve these islands. The strength that you can trust, you're safe when you come to company. Assurance when you need it most.
For your home, motor, or business insurance, visit New India Guyana office, 58 Brickdam next to Star Computers. Telephone 2260-415-7. Comfortable parking available.
Well, in a campaign-style speech on Sunday, President Irfan Ali took the stage at the Babu John Memorial for late President Chetty Jagan and Janet Jagan in Berbice and declared that their legacy remains alive and the party they founded will continue to work on behalf of all the people of Guyana. The president compared the record of successive PP civic governments to the record of the former APNU-AFC government, and he noted that during the last APNU-AFC government, the quality of life diminished in Guyana. Reflecting on the life of Dr. Chetty Jagan, President Irfan Ali said the PPP founding father was a humble servant of the country who stood for the working class. President Ali said criticism now leveled against the PPP that it has moved away from Jagan's philosophy is unjustified.
Because Comrade Chetty lived for the working class. But he did not live to see the working class remain working class or remain in poverty. He lived to uplift them out of poverty. Not for us to cry every day, we're fighting for the working class. What are we fighting for the working class for? To uplift them, to uproot poverty, to remove them from poverty, to give them human dignity, to give them equal opportunity. And that is what the People's Progressive Party Civic continues to do.
The president also said the country is on a path of development, and though challenges are expected, the government will overcome those challenges.
And make no mistake, as we navigate the challenges of the future, as we reinvent ourselves, we will never stray away from the founding principles and values of the People's Progressive Party Civic.
He noted also that every sector of the economy is now performing well, and the majority of Guyanese are rallying behind the government's development agenda.
We restored hope for the sugar workers. We restored hope for the communities across the country. We no longer said that rice is private business. And most of all, the mirror said, glory be to the naysayers. For once again, they have found their voices that they lost 5 years ago.
According to the president, Guyanese can continue to expect a higher quality of life under the PPP government. Vice President Bara Jagdeo has announced the construction of a multi-million-dollar training facility at Port Morant in Quarantine, Berbice. On Sunday, he said the facility will serve as a center to equip Guyanese with expertise to work in the oil and gas sector. Delivering the feature address at the memorial for the late presidents Chetty Jagan and Janet Jagan, the vice president said with the rapid development of the oil and gas sector, it is important that Guyanese take center stage and benefit.
Right here at Port Morant, there's going to be a massive facility for training Guyanese for the industry. A massive facility. It's $120 million facility for training people to work in this industry. This is what the PPP stands for.
Mr. Jagdeo, who is the General Secretary of the PPP, said his government has heard the calls for Guyanese to benefit more from the oil and gas sector. He noted that while the country is in need of foreign investment and capital to develop the oil and gas industry, Guyanese must not be left behind and must be in a position to get a fair share of the proceeds from the oil sector.
We've traveled around the world. We've seen in these countries how the foreigners, people of one color, live in ethnic enclaves. We said not in Guyana. With the law now says that these foreign companies can only rent dwelling places from Guyanese, so that Guyanese now have an opportunity to supply them with this too. They can only rent transportation.
Mr. Jagdeo also said Guyanese have already raked in hundreds of millions of dollars from the oil and gas sector, and he noted that more local companies and citizens stand to benefit even more.
But more importantly, we passed a local content law that was passed by the PPP that has brought nearly 700 million US dollars of business and business opportunities to Guyanese, because we believe that this industry must work for our people too, not the foreigners alone.
His party's supporters and loyalists who were gathered at Babu John were told that the government is committed to ensuring that citizens benefit largely from the sector. Mr. Jagdeo also used up a chunk of his speech to lambaste the opposition APNU-AFC and their 5 years in office between 2015 and 2020. He hammered the People's National Congress, which is the largest party in the coalition, declaring that the PNC is almost dead. While days after it was reconstituted by President Irfaan Ali, the Ethnic Relations Commission is being urged by the Guyanese Organization of Indigenous Peoples and the Partnership for National Unity to do more to curb racism and foster better relations in the country. During the recent launch of a report on hate crimes in Guyana by the Guyana Equality Forum, GOIP Chief Colin Cloquet said indigenous people in Guyana are often subjected to racism at the interpersonal and structural levels. He complained that some people are still using derogatory terms to describe indigenous people. He also said the use of those obnoxious terms affects self-esteem of the indigenous people.
We have sent complaints of racism to the Ethnic Relations Commission, which is just a stone's throw away from here. Again, we understand that the ERC does not have enforcement powers. All you can do is complaints and recommendations, but what's the sense? They can't enforce anything really. So we sort of up against a wall.
And in a separate statement, the advisor to the leader of the opposition, Elson Lowe, challenged the newly appointed ERC commissioners to do more to foster good ethnic relations in the country.
Advise the ERC that building good ethnic relations, though important, is only one of its 3 interrelated constitutional mandates. Equally critical are its 2 mandates involving 1. The identification, prevention, and elimination of ethnic discrimination, and 2. The promotion of equality of opportunity regardless of ethnicity. These last 2 mandates demand that the Commission must also focus on governmental policies and institutions that control the distribution of state resources and opportunities, such as jobs, contracts, subventions, and cash transfers.
Lowe said the ERC must seek to instigate policy, administrative, cultural, and structural changes within all state agencies to ensure their operations, enhance ethnic relations, eliminate ethnic discrimination, and promote equal opportunity for all. Last Thursday, the commission, which is chaired by Sheikh Muin Ulhak, said it will commence work shortly to facilitate its plan of interaction with citizens from all ethnic groups throughout the country.
Traits Management, Structure, and Cashmere Rosé presents Sundress Soiree, Champagne and Cocktail Event, Saturday, April 8th at Everest Cricket Ground. Contribution $8,000. This is a day into night event. Doors open from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. Free. Cocktail hour, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Sundress Soiree. You know the vibes.
You taste the cheese, you hear the crunch. Grab a zoomers and zoom into fun. And with the first taste, you feel like you don't want it done. Blast off to a whole new place with every single bite. The cheesy goodness bring your taste buds alive. So let's just zoom into fun with this wheel-shaped light. Zoomers, zoomers, zoom into fun.
Guyana, ride into the future with the next generation eco-friendly Axiom installed elevators and escalators. Call us today on telephone number 619-0899 or 648-0934. Email us at axiomliftsgy@gmail.com for affordable elevators, escalators, moving walks, industrial lifts, home solutions, modernization, repair, and servicing. Axiom Elevator Services, technology for people on the move.
General Senior Counsel Anil Nandlal has announced that the government will appeal the High Court's decision that President Irfan Ali breached the Constitution when he suspended the chairman and commissioners of the Police Service Commission back in 2021. The Attorney General made that announcement hours after High Court Judge Justice Gino Prasad handed down the decision on Friday. Mr. Nandlal said while the case is of no practical importance, the government will head to the Court of Appeal to overturn Justice Prasad's ruling.
The case really has no practical importance anymore. It has been overtaken by time, and many of the crucial reliefs that Mr. Paul Slow was claiming fell away with the passage of time and with the occurrence of several events.
Justice Prasad in his ruling explained that the president breached the Constitution when he failed to appoint a tribunal on the advice of the Judicial Service Commission to address the issue of the removal of retired Assistant Police Commissioner Paul Slow as chairman of the commission, as well as his suspension of his fellow commissioners. But the Attorney General is maintaining that there could not have been a tribunal in the absence of a Judicial Service Commission. He said given the improper conduct of the commissioners, President Ali was forced to invoke the doctrine of necessity. Mr. Nandlal also said it was also discovered that Paul Slow, together with another commissioner, provided consultancy services to the Guyana Police Force while serving on the Police Service Commission. As a consequence, they are facing a number of fraud-related charges. But Justice Prasad, in handing down his decision and addressing that particular issue, said records would show that Mr. Slow was not found guilty of committing any crime, and as such, he has the right to the presumption of innocence as set out in the Constitution.
So right there you see an impartial police service commission, or an organization that is supposed to be impartial under the Constitution, free from political bias, choosing to align itself with a group of politicians in a politically inspired litigation. Right there, alarm bells ought to be ringing. Because in my view, that apparent independent organization has decided to shed its independence and to take a political alignment.
But the Attorney General said there were many other issues affecting the work of the Police Service Commission at the time, forcing the president's hand.
What should a president have done in those circumstances? Allow such a rogue organization to proceed with a course of action that would have had destructive consequences to the police force of the country, the municipal authority for the maintenance of law and order in Guyana, or he should sit and twiddle his thumb because there is no Judicial Service Commission.
Justice Prasad ruled that the president's failure to establish a Judicial Service Commission was no reason to invoke the doctrine of necessity. He also said the president's decision was against the laws of Guyana and of no legal effect. The Attorney General, Senior Counsel Anil Nandlal, has clarified that there has been no agreement reached for the reinstatement of the government subvention to the International Decade for People of African Descent Assembly, Guyana. Speaking to News Source on Sunday, Mr. Nandlal explained that the two sides have started discussions on the way forward, but he was clear that there was no agreement reached as yet. Mr. Nandlal, who was not in court on Friday when the case came up, owing to his travel duties, said he has received a proposal from the organization about the way forward and has since forwarded that proposal to the subject minister, Charles Ramson Jr. Nandlal explained that the sides may still be a far way from reaching a final agreement. The Attorney General said it was misleading for the attorney on the other side to give the impression to the court that an agreement has been reached. He said there has been progress in the talks, but no agreement. On Friday, the attorney for Epology, Vivian Williams, told the court that the government has reaffirmed commitment to supporting the work of Epology for the remainder of the decade. The state's principal legal advisor, Shoshana Lal, who appeared on behalf of the Attorney General, told the court that there is a commitment in principle to honor the work of the International Decade. She, however, noted that because of the Attorney General's official travel duties over the past 3 weeks, he was only able to receive a copy of the proposal from the organization last Thursday. Ipanaji moved to the court late last year after the government started to withhold its monthly subvention of $8 million, which had already been approved in the national budget. During an earlier hearing of the case, the Chief Justice said the issue was a national embarrassment for Guyana and should be resolved between the parties through mediation. Turning now to the work of the National Assembly. A frustrated chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, German Figuera, complained again today that the government is deliberately stalling the work of the Public Accounts Committee.
This level of interference is alarming, and it is evident that the government is afraid of transparency and accountability, which are the twin cardinal principles that lend to good governance. The deliberate derailing and stymieing of the work of the PAC by the government is unacceptable, and it is time for the people of Guyana to demand the accountability they deserve.
Today marked 3 weeks since the Public Accounts Committee last met at the public buildings. In a statement, Mr. Figuera laid the blame at the feet of the government, explaining that due to the unavailability of the government members, the meeting was cancelled because there could be no quorum. Since using its majority in the National Assembly last April to amend the standing orders, which ultimately changed the required quorum for a sitting of the Public Accounts Committee, the government has been absent from several meetings, forcing the cancellation of those meetings. Under the new rules, there must be 2 government MPs, 2 opposition MPs, and the chairman present for there to be a quorum. Under the old rules, only 3 committee members were required to be present for there to be a quorum for the meeting to go ahead. The PAC chairman said government's blatant disregard for the work of the Public Accounts Committee is unacceptable, and the government's attitude towards the work of Parliament is reflective in other parliamentary committees.
Government's consistent failure to show up and do the work they were elected to do is a microcosm of the unacceptable reality of many other committees of the National Assembly, where committees just don't meet. The Natural Resource Committee, for example, which should be meeting given Guyana's resource-rich status and the possibilities for transformation with our new oil-rich resource, has not met since the inception of this Parliament. The Assembly's committee, of which the Honourable Speaker of the Parliament is the chairman, met only but once in 3 years.
Mr. Figuera also pointed out that there are other parliamentary committees that have also not been meeting because of the government's absence. The APNU-AFC MP said the government must be held accountable for its actions and lack of commitment. He said while the government speaks publicly about transparency and accountability, its practice does not back up all that talk.
Food Max Supermarket, located on the ground floor of the Giftland Mall, is your one-stop shop for all your grocery needs. We stock a variety of imported frozen meat and food products, fresh produce, and pet supplies, freshly made bread. Rotisserie chicken and patties are also available daily. Shop in comfort today at Food Max and let our courteous staff assist you in satisfying your shopping needs. Food Max, the fresh food specialist.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Look who's in the mix now. The new Buster Soda Water. 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 artificial flavors. 100% refreshing. Taste Buster Soda Water today. Buster Soda Water. Now available for only $120.
Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Fuel it
Guy Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive!
Across the region tonight in neighboring Venezuela, an expanding anti-corruption probe in the country has led to the detention of 10 officials and 11 businessmen, the country's Attorney General has announced. He added that the arrest warrants for 11 more people have since been issued. The investigation, which began back in October, is focused on the State Oil Company, a government entity supervising cryptocurrency operations, and the judiciary in the country. Last week, it led to the resignation of the country's powerful oil minister. A Venezuelan entity supervising the use of cryptocurrency for official transactions was assigned oil cargoes for sale with no administrative control. Many of the buyers did not pay for the oil correspondingly. The oil company has accumulated $21.2 billion in commercial accounts receivable since 2020, including $3.6 billion potentially unrecoverable. Those are some of the major issues that led to the corruption probe. The Trinidad and Tobago-based Caribbean Court of Justice has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Guyana-based CARICOM Secretariat aimed at improving access and delivery of justice in the Caribbean region. The agreement formalizes the partnership between the two regional institutions to execute several justice and legal sector projects, which are being funded by the European Union's 11th European Development Fund. The Secretariat will provide procurement support to the CCJ in the execution of several projects, which form part of a larger project which also comprises work to benefit the Caribbean Community Administrative Tribunal and the Council of Legal Education. The implementation of those projects is expected to have a transformative effect on justice delivery in the region. The CCJ said that some of the more specific outcomes include a region-wide public education campaign to raise awareness of the court's original jurisdiction, which plays a critical role in the Caribbean single market and economy, and protects the freedom of movement of people, goods, services, capital, labor, skills, and the establishment guaranteed under the CSME. And finally tonight, international news. In the U.S., 6 people, including 3 children, were killed in a shooting in Nashville, Tennessee. On Twitter, the city's fire department said there were multiple patients from an incident at a local school. Nashville police said they had engaged and killed the shooter, a 28-year-old woman. Police are still working to identify the victims. At a news conference, the police spokesperson, Dawn Aaron, confirmed the death, including 3 children and 3 staff members and the shooter. 1 police officer was wounded by cut glass while responding to the incident. 2 officers who entered the building went towards the sound of gunfire and encountered the shooter on the school's 2nd floor, where they fatally shot her. The suspect was carrying 2 assault-type rifles and at least 1 pistol, which has been recovered at the scene. The identity of the shooter remains unclear up to news time. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.